All right, so in today's chapters, I'm reading two chapters today for How to Win Friends. The first one talked about giving a bit of Novocaine before doing the dental work, so to speak, and giving a compliment before trying to criticize or correct anything. I think that's very powerful because it's easier to take a criticism when you know that you're appreciated or someone is thankful or grateful for something or compliments you on a skill. Then it's easier to take a minor criticism. And I used to, I can't remember who used to say it, but they'd call it a criticism sandwich, where you would find something to compliment, you would give your sliver of criticism on whatever needed to be fixed, and then you'd follow up with another compliment and edify that you're correcting the behavior, not the person. So it's not a character criticism, but it's an action criticism. And then the following chapter from that talked about bringing stuff up indirectly, or criticizing indirectly, so that it allows for that flow. So using that concept of giving a compliment followed by a criticism, to not use the word but to use the word and. So they give an example of, Johnny, we want to thank you for improving your grades this last term, but if you had applied those same things in math, your algebra could be up too. So having that word but kind of makes it like, hey, you're complimented just so that you could criticize instead of the compliment being genuine. So they say, switch that but to the word and then your statement might be something more along the lines of, hey, Johnny, we really appreciate the way you brought your grades up this last term. And if you were to apply that same level of consistency in your math work, your algebra could be up there with your other grades. And that allows you to address the issue without it coming across as a criticism, so to speak. So I really like the way that they laid that out. And I will be back in a minute with your Atomic Habits, book report, we'll call it. All right, so Atomic Habits today talked about culture. This was really cool. It talked about how culture affects not just some of our actions, but some of our habits. Whatever our culture places a high esteem on is something that is going to be a very attractive habit to either cultivate, develop, or excel at. And they articulated three different areas in particular that we tend to mimic or tend to embrace. And that is one, that which is close to us, meaning family and friends, people that we hang around, our current associations, so to speak. We pick up traits from them, pick up habits from them. Secondly is the masses, right? The larger group, whatever the larger context of our culture is. We tend to pick up things from them as well, or be influenced. You can call it peer pressure. Peer pressure can be a positive thing if it's to get you to perform a positive act or habit, whereas if it's a negative thing is typically what we think of as peer pressure. And then thirdly is those that are successful or powerful, or are a big deal. We tend to look for the habits and actions that the successful and powerful people take and mimic those so that we could ultimately create that same success in our own lives. And it was very interesting the way they broke it down, especially when it came to the effect of culture in your life. And they used an example. There was I think it was in Holland, a scientist and his wife ultimately raised their three daughters with the intent of making grand masters. And they thought that regardless of your situation, anything could be mastered if you were raised, taught in a culture that led to that being the case. And ultimately, all three of his daughters ended up being world-renowned chess players, but they were raised in a culture that within their home made chess the highest level of attainment. So everything about chess was attractive, And so getting good at chess was very attractive. And so they performed and excelled in that area because of the cultural environment. His goal was ultimately that you could turn anyone into a genius in any field, so long as you controlled the cultural influences and environment that they were raised in. And he proved that. And then when it came to the masses, there was another study done, very interestingly, where people were brought into a room and they started to conform to giving wrong answers to questions they knew it was the wrong answer to give. But the more people in the room that gave the wrong answer, the more likely they were willing to actually give the wrong answer just so they could conform to what the group was saying. And it was interesting that something happens around the association number of 3 to 4 people. So when it was 2 people in the room, one person giving the wrong answer, one person giving the wrong answer, they literally just assumed they were in the room with an idiot. Then once they got to about 3, I think it was 3 or 4 other people in the room that were giving the wrong answer, something changed, and the desire to conform became stronger than the desire to be right. And that's very, very key when we're designing our habits or trying to create change in our life, is knowing those 3 things. Let's pick an association, let's pick a culture, let's pick to spend our time around people that are moving in the direction we want to move in. So if we want to get healthier, join a group. You know, if you want to stop utilizing drugs or alcohol, join AA or NA. If you want to become a bicyclist, you know, join a group of people who go for bike rides every week. If you want to get better at running, join a running group. You are going to develop the habits of people who are successful in that area when you're in a group of people that focus on that. And as I was reading this, it was actually very heavily reminding me of the movie 300 of Spartans, right? And just the fact that their culture was so focused on combat that they were the best at combat in the world. And that scene where the Spartans meet up with the Greeks and they say, hey, you know, what's your profession? He goes, I'm a potter. And then Leonidas turns to his Spartans and says, Spartans, what is your profession? And that they all give their war cry. It's because they're in this culture where combat is everything. So they become excellent at it because of the cultural influence. So whatever you want your success or your goal or your habit to be around, find a culture of people who are pursuing that currently and connect with them, develop friendships. And most groups that are at least trying to improve or on some form of personal growth are very accepting of new people into their group. They're typically very open to newcomers because they want people to join them on this journey forward. So phenomenal book. All right, so it is freezing out. I'm out getting my run in. We got snow on the ground in Virginia today. Let's get it. Johnny on the spot video. So got all my habits knocked out. Dropped off about 10 different retail bags. Shared my story and booked a meeting for a potential partnership meeting. So yeah, and knocked out all my excellence habits. So wanted to take a quick minute at the stoplight, let you guys know that I'm heading home to do bedtime with the little man, and I will be back at it tomorrow. Blue.